into the internet.
So that's right. This is the fun part, the waiting. All right, Sam, you ready to go?
I hope so.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Yinzhers. I'm your host, Samantha James, along with my co-hosts, Morgan Urzo and Jordan DeFigio. And tonight we have the one and only Dorin Dickerson. How are you?
I am great. How are you guys? And thank you for having me on. This is awesome to talk some Steelers. Nice preseason game last night. It's going to be awesome. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Of course. And we know today is your favorite day. So taking the time out of your busy schedule on Friday the 13th means a lot to us.
Well, yeah, I had to have some time out for you guys. And, you know, in between my Friday the 13th marathon that I've watched probably every day this week, 12 Friday the 13th. I'm taking some time out, but once we're done here, I will go back to watching Friday the 13th part 7 as I've seen it over 200 times.
I'm genuinely surprised you did not show up in full costume. Like
I was waiting.
I know. I was like ready and prepared for it.
I swear to God, I was thinking about wearing my full costume, my Jason outfit, my mask, everything, and just sitting here and not saying anything and just staring into the camera.
That actually would have been.
That would have made for something.
I didn't want to scare anybody. Feature. I mean, you know, Morgan's tweeting at me saying I have issues, so I don't want anybody to think that like I am that crazy. I just like the holiday, so I don't want to scare anybody.
It's okay. We all
have our holidays. It's fine. It's fine. You know, this is yours. Enjoy it.
Most of us like, you know, 4th of July, Christmas.
The wholesome stuff.
Yeah, you know. the normal things. So,
right. Thanksgiving.
This is basically just an extension of Halloween. You're fine. Just associate it with that. And that's coming up.
This is the pre-Halloween. Yes,
yeah.
I'm ready.
I'm
ready.
I could see that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell people a little bit about you, Dorin, just in case they're not familiar, which I feel like most Pittsburgh fans should be familiar with who you are. But sorry, I have like COVID brain still. Sorry, guys.
Sam's just getting over being sick.
Yeah, guys, I was sick a couple weeks ago, which is why we rescheduled Kia. So I'm still a little bit slow in my brain right now. But so Dorin played for Pitt, played in the NFL for 6 years at the tight end position. And now he's currently a director of project development for the Penguins and pretty big in the Pittsburgh media scene, which I'm sure most of you guys know. But we've had a lot of
can we talk about Pitt for a second though? Like, are you going to apologize?
For what? For 13-9?
How bad they are?
For 13-9, when my sophomore year when we beat Virginia?
Don't.
We beat West Virginia to go to the national championship. Should I apologize for that?
Don't. Yes.
I mean
you should. Yes, apologize.
I mean, honestly, West Virginia is like 13th grade, so I don't know what you're coming at Pitt for.
I'm just gonna stay out of this.
Yeah, I am too, Sam. I don't have any
friendship
skin in the game.
Over.
Yeah.
Over. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Yeah, I like U
but
of A.
Hey, project development.
No one has beef with U of A except for ASU fans, which you guys are not. So
ASU is when I was playing for Buffalo, we stayed there for a week because we had a game on the West Coast and we practiced at ASU, and that is an amazing campus. I mean, that's just an amazing area. It is unreal. I would move there in a second, that area.
Sam and I both went to ASU.
Oh, really?
Didn't you go to ASU?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds of that? Like, really?
I only live like 20 minutes from Tempe now, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. I couldn't believe it.
That indoor facility there is so nice, and it was brand new when I was there. And I remember as a sports reporter going there like the first day that it was open, and it was, I mean, unreal. Especially like out there in the Arizona heat, like they don't want to be outside. It's brutal. It is. And the football stadium's built into the side of a mountain, literally, like carved into a mountain. Yeah,
nice.
Awesome. They used to have the Fiesta Bowl there like years ago.
I know. Anyway. I think when people think of Arizona, they're like, it's just desert and it's like not pretty, but it really is because we have mountains that surround us in like every direction in the state. So it's really, yes, it is like I guess, brown. Most of the thing, cactus is a little bit green, but it is really pretty here.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Did you know in Arizona, it is illegal to cut down a saguaro cactus? Yes. Like you will get fined. You could go to jail for that.
Yeah, it's a big,
isn't that crazy?
Big deal.
Oh.
Anyway, we can get back to
enough
fun facts.
The desert. We have huge news and Steelers news this week. As you guys know, yesterday during the game, there was rumors going around that the Steelers were trading for Joe Schobert, and we were like, that's weird. His wife tweeted it out. Yinzhers are gonna love this, and everyone was, of course, runs with it like Pittsburgh Twitter does with everything. But yeah, so Kevin Colbert is a genius, and we are getting him for a 6th round pick next year. So
all hail.
I mean,
Kevin Colbert.
How?
Seriously?
How?
It didn't even feel real to me. Like they announced, or there were the rumors, like you said, and there wasn't anything coming out about what the Steelers gave up for him. So I was on the fence, sitting in my dark condo, like what? And so this morning, whenever it came out, what the Steelers were giving up for him, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Is that right? It did not click in my brain that was a real thing because of how little the Steelers gave up for him.
I know.
Like, I mean, like, listen, I get wanting to unload the contract. I get that.
Yeah.
But the dude, arguably one of your best defenders, period, has been so dominant in this league, especially in the AFC North. He's familiar with, we got a steal, if you ask me. I was like you, Jordan, like holding my breath all night, not sure what we gave up for him. I'm like, oh God, like, was the James Washington thing real? Like,
exactly what I thought. My dad even texted me. He's like, did we trade James Washington? Because he knows like Twitter's quicker with news. And I was like, I haven't heard anything. And he's like, I don't see James Washington on the field tonight. Like, I don't see him. Like, he must have been traded. And I was like, I have no idea.
Right.
The Steelers are getting a really good football player too. I mean, you know, from sideline to sideline, obviously he's a Pro Bowl player. And I always believe that, you know, I thought Spillane was a good serviceable linebacker. He has a knack for the ball. He has very good instincts, but he's kind of limited. You know, I mean, he was in a role, he got asked to do things and he did them very well, but he was limited as a starter and as an NFL starter. The best situation for the Steelers was to have somebody be very confident next to Devin Bush and move Spillane, make him a package linebacker, come in on certain downs, play a little bit, do some blitzing, but be that ace on special teams. And now they've made that happen. They've made that a possibility of having Schobert be that guy next to Devin Bush, that veteran sound linebacker, but then moving Spillane back to special teams, which is a huge area in the NFL that if you can get hidden yards and if you can make plays on special teams, you put your team in field position. So Spillane can be that ace on special teams for the Steelers now, and they won't have to worry about the liability of him at the linebacker spot. So, I mean, it really is a brilliant trade, and they did need some depth there.
I mean, right? Yeah. Like, we're watching the game last night and watching Spillane, and I love the dude. I love his heart. I love how he came in last year and really stepped up. We saw what he did against Derrick Henry. You know, that's where he established himself. But we see him time and time again struggle in coverage. And we see this defense put linebackers on wide receivers pretty consistently. So I'm watching this game last night and wondering, what are we going to do about Robert Spillane in coverage? Like, that's not his strong suit. We need someone better with Devin Bush as an inside linebacker. Right. And then like Kevin Colbert read all of our minds. The second I'm questioning Spillane and his ability to cover, it's like Joe Schobert. 9 interceptions since 2016. He's a tackle machine, like doubled. I think our tackle leader last year was Minka, right? 74 tackles, something like that. He doubled that last year. That's crazy.
And so ideally the Steelers won't be punting as much this year as they did last year. That's the hope, and that's the goal. However, when the Steelers did go 3 and out and they were forced to punt, their special teams, it was a nightmare because Jordan Berry was struggling and their special teams coverage was really weak. And I think that hopefully, again, it's not going to come down to we're relying on the punt game to pin the opposition back so that the defense can take care of it all the time. But whenever you need to rely on your special teams, like, it's nice to know that you have guys like Spillane and even like Chase Claypool. He balled out on special teams last year when they put him in. Like, he has that same type of like Hines Ward heart to him, where he does whatever he needs to do and plays as hard as he has to wherever he is on the field. And he just loves being on the field. So I feel like whenever you can add guys to the primary defense so that you can shuffle those fringe players to the special teams to solidify that a little bit more. And I mean, like, we saw a very limited showing of Presley Harvin, but like, holy crap, that dude, he has a leg.
I was just gonna say it. I was waiting for someone to say it.
Control, like, what the hell? That was insane. He punted like 2 or 3 times, but every single time I was like, this is art. This is poetry in motion. What?
I've never been so excited over a punter.
Right.
Like, no part of me has ever been like, I want a punter's jersey. And now I'm like, I want a punter's jersey.
Presley Harvin.
Yes.
The third.
Twitter is going mad over Presley Harvin. And also, can we talk for a second? I mean, I know we have this like kind of down in the outline, but like, let's just discuss it while we're on the topic. Jordan Berry, I don't know who that was last night. Like, he is clearly fighting for a job. And if it's not with the Steelers, he's certainly earning one on another team, because
good for him.
It was the best game of his life last night, punting. Like,
that those competitive juices, they start rolling whenever you hear your name. And, you know, I mean, I've been in so many rooms looking next to me and it's like, all right, well, this guy had a good practice today, so I better step it up today. So, well, this guy, he benched, you know, X, I got to bench Y, like, or, you know, in the weight room. I mean, this guy was eating salmon at lunch, so I got to eat salmon. Like, I mean, just the littlest things whenever you're at that level will separate you from everything. So obviously Jordan Berry had to show up last night and put on a show. But like you said, Morgan, you know, it's not just about the Steelers whenever you're at this level. It is about performing and putting tape on for the other 31 teams in the league, because, you know, it's not that just because Jordan Berry doesn't fit here, that doesn't mean he's not going to get picked up somewhere else. So you need that film to show that you can be, you know, a positive influence at your position.
Exactly. And like, the perfect example, I keep coming back to this example, is Deontay Spencer. Like, we picked up Deontay Spencer from the CFL after 4 or 5 years in the CFL. He had only been on a practice squad in the NFL for, I think, 1 year prior to going to the CFL, was up there for 4 years, absolutely balled, earned a spot in training camp with the Steelers, and absolutely dominated. I was pissed when we kept Switzer instead, but you know, that is what it is. Now Deontay he's killing it in Denver as a kick and punt returner. So like, perfect example, go into camp, absolutely kill it, and you're earning yourself a spot somewhere else if it's not on this team. So I think Jordan Berry, you know, is helping himself more than anything. I think Harvin's our dude, but good for him.
They wouldn't have drafted him if they didn't think he was the dude, I don't think. Because you don't draft punters if you're not like, he's our long-term guy. And especially with that leg. Like, oh my Lord. I was like lusting after that. I was like, what is going on? This is insane. I cannot believe
I feel some type of way about this.
Yeah.
So you guys don't, do you guys know what the deal is with the kickers and punters and snappers? You know, they only practice a certain, like, I have a little, like, I'm not mad at them. I mean, they are on the team and they're a part of the team and I'm a good teammate, but I see these guys, you know, they'll practice for a little bit and then they'll leave and go golf every day. They have like golf clubs in their locker. They're punting in the locker room. I mean, it is, you know, it's such a funny dynamic between kickers and punters that, like, you have one job. And if you don't execute on that one play, then it's like, all right, like, what are you doing? So it's like, you know, you see these guys, they come in and they do well or they don't do well. It's like, all right, well, you have like one job to do. So like you have to execute.
You have to do it.
This is a normal thing. So I don't want to like act like I wasn't a good teammate or anything, but these guys, they have one job. They have one job.
Are you saying that the standard is different for those positions?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's always hilarious to see like some guy return a kick, return a punt, and see the kicker or the punter try to tackle the dude. Like that is always prime television. Great football
is very
entertaining.
Immaculate. Immaculate. But they say the best job in the NFL is if you're a good long snapper, you're employed forever and you don't get touched. So but let's talk about last night's game. First of all, I want to talk about, the heated debate among Steelers fans, Haskins, Rudolph. We're not even going to talk about Dobbs right now. I don't think that he did much of anything remarkable last night, especially compared to the Hall of Fame game. So let's just skip over that, but let's discuss Haskins and Rudolph. I know, Dorin, you talked about this today on the Fan. I heard it, but I want your opinion and I want you to say it here. Haskins, what's your takeaway from that?
See, it's so tough because people are throwing this analysis out and putting all their chips in. Like, my co-host today, Andrew Filippone, just throwing all his chips in. Dwayne Haskins, the next coming of Warren Moon, and like all these crazy assumptions. I mean, it's only 2 preseason games, and what people don't realize is that the offense changes whenever he goes into the game. The offense changes from Mason Rudolph to him. You saw Dwayne Haskins run a bunch of sprint outs yesterday, a bunch of boots, using his legs a little bit more, running around, throwing. That's all well and great. That's great that he can do that. That is why he was a first-round pick. That's why he is a good quarterback. But if you have a Ben Roethlisberger, and Ben is not mobile at all anymore, do you really want to switch your offense up if something happens to Ben? Do you want to really have your players move and switch the type of offense you're running from Ben to an offense that fits Dwayne Haskins? Or do you want to just kind of go sideways and have a guy like Mason Rudolph, who's not that mobile, more like Ben, go in there and be a serviceable backup? Now, that's more of a logical situation, but if you're looking long-term and you're looking at these preseason games and seeing who did well and who didn't do well, obviously Dwayne Haskins did well. He led a bunch of scoring drives. He did what he was supposed to do. He's an ex-first-round pick. I expect him to do that against backup players. Mason Rudolph, whenever he was in, he was asked to really hand the ball off to Najee Harris. That was Najee's show. So, it's kind of neck and neck for me right now. But if I'm going into the season, I need a reliable backup quarterback that I know that can handle the offense if Ben goes down. And to me, and if I was a coach, that would have to be Mason Rudolph right now because of his playing style.
So, you said this today, and it made me agree with you when you made that point. Like, if we're talking about someone who can carry the offense in the same manner, with running the same scheme, running the same plays, yes, Mason Rudolph is just about as immobile as Ben. More so.
Yeah, he has lead feet.
But, it is what it is. But so we're talking about 2 different things here, because if we're talking about QB2 versus if we're talking about 2022 and potentially Ben not playing again, those are 2 different answers. Because I think everyone can see that Haskins has the larger upside. And the field was the energy shifted. The way that offense was moving shifted when Haskins got on that field. Last night I was all for Dwayne Haskins. Yes, of course he's not playing against the first team, and that certainly plays a part in what we're seeing. And it's easy for people to forget that because they come in and they're all pumped and they're all high on Dwayne Haskins, being the answer that we got for virtually nothing, low risk, high reward. But, you take into consideration who they're playing with. You saw some good things from Mason Rudolph. We've seen him slowly but surely make progression since 2019, since we saw a lot of him in 2019. He played that Browns game last year. And then, this year in the preseason, aside from getting Najee almost killed, and aside from almost getting Claypool killed last week, there's things that I like about him. When we're talking about potential, it's Haskins and it's not close. It's not close.
We're going to see next week because we know that Ben's going to play. And if I were to guess, if I were to mark down, if I was, taking count of the plays and if I was the offensive coordinator, I would say Ben would have max 3 series next week. Depending on the situation, depending on if it's 3 and out, maybe a little bit more, but max 3 series. Whoever goes into the game next is going to be the backup quarterback for the season. So if Dwayne Haskins goes into the game next after Ben's couple series in the first quarter, then Dwayne Haskins will have a really good chance. Well, if he is confident whenever he goes in, if he can go in with the starters, with the Claypools, with the Jujus, and play against a first string-ish defense, if he could go in there and if he can lead, if he could do the things he was doing, I believe that he will be the guy. But that's what's going to happen. We should pay close attention of who goes in after Ben in next week's preseason game.
That makes me nervous.
And I think like based on what you were saying, Dorin, how they've tailored this offense to function around Ben Roethlisberger, which they have. It's his offense because he's our franchise quarterback. I think that it's an interesting dynamic that is taking place and taking root amongst Steeler fans right now, specifically on Twitter, with this whole debate between Haskins and Rudolph, because based on what we've seen, I don't know if I know Mason Rudolph isn't. I don't think Dwayne Haskins has it in him to be a franchise quarterback because they're just so few and far between. Like, you don't just stumble upon a franchise quarterback typically. So to see everybody fiercely yelling at each other over if it's going to be Rudolph or Haskins, and having this maybe be Ben's last season as our quarterback, like I'm still of the mindset that if Ben goes down, we're screwed. Like we're not doing anything, and maybe Ben is going to suck. Who knows? Like it may be that this final or this past year took a toll on him, that he is just irreversible and he's not going to be able to throw, and everybody's right about him and he sucks. But I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think that he is going to play as well as he possibly can for his age and his shape. And for me, I'm like, I don't really care who the second string quarterback is right now, because our first string quarterback is Ben. And I understand that the point of preseason games is to kind of get a feel for who is making their way to the first team and who's going to be further down on the depth chart. But like, I've kind of cared a little bit about that, but it's gotten past that point where I'm like, I cannot put this much energy into our second string quarterback, because I just don't have faith in either of them to lead us to a Super Bowl. I'm on the fence about the first string team. Like going to the Super Bowl. So
let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about the offensive line. Let's just dive in, right? Because that is the biggest point of contention. It has been since the end of last year. It has been since the beginning of last year. I'll be honest. We have not seen that offensive line, at least who we think will be the starters, play together yet this preseason. So let's note that first and foremost. Yeah. Cohesion is important. How a line plays together, not just as individuals, is important. But I mean, we see guys out there who do considerably better, who are on the second team or they're not starting or whatever. I mean, there have been the rumors about Dotson. There have been, all of that speculation that, I'm not buying into any of it, because we see them play and I don't see I don't see where the issue is, but the offensive line looked terrible. Can we all, Jordan, I know you didn't watch it, but Dorin, what did you think?
I wish.
I mean, they're not on the same page. And like you said, like, to play offensive line, it's not just one guy, it's five. Like you have to be on the same page with protections, with down blocks, with ace blocks. I mean, with all the different things that you have to do within a game as an offensive line, you do it together. So, I mean, even thinking about all the guys that left, I mean, Marquise Pouncey, DeCastro, Al, I mean, you have a lot of new guys. And yeah, maybe they've gotten reps in practice a little bit together. We just haven't seen them in a game. Okay, like that's fine. But it's one thing to just get reps and to play together, but then you have to execute. You have to dominate. You know, you can't just hold up as offensive line. Like you have to move a guy from A to B. Like that is your job, is to move another grown man from point A to point B. So Najee Harris those holes can open up for him, and he has a nice clear path to the second level. Like that's your mentality as an offensive lineman. And to keep Ben clean. Like those are the two things. If you think of that, those are the two things you go into every game, you'll be fine. I don't know if this unit could do that. I don't know if those guys have that mentality to do that. You saw that in previous years, every single year, but it's a new regime. It's a new offense. It's a new offensive line.
New offensive line coach.
New offensive line coach, a new center. I mean, there's a lot of unknown that we haven't seen that maybe they've gotten in practice, but it probably isn't enough.
Right.
So that is a huge question mark. I mean, it's a huge question mark across the board.
I mean, I watched them get bullied last night, especially against the Eagles starters. Speaking of starters, let's talk about depth, because a lot of people think that because we played really, really well in the second half, that means we're a super, super deep team. Does it mean that, or does it mean the Eagles just are not?
No, I mean, I like what I saw from some guys. I mean, I like the you're competing. I mean, why wouldn't you be? Who wouldn't compete at that level if you had that opportunity? I mean, if you're out there on the field and you're wearing an NFL jersey, you better be competing. You're going to get cut, and you're going to be at home, back on your farm or something. Like you'll be chilling. So you better be competing. So I mean, that's really I don't really put that much detail into. All right, the Steelers are going to have some depth because a lot of those guys aren't going to be here. And, there's 90 guys out there. They have to get down to 53. So, they're going to pick and choose which guys they need, which guys they want to keep. Like if they want to keep, 5, 6 DBs, or they want to keep extra linebackers, extra D linemen, extra tight ends, extra receivers, that's kind of the dynamic, looking at every preseason that I look at is like, all right, so which way are they going to go? They want to be a more run team because then they'll keep 4 tight ends. If they want to be a more pass, then they'll keep an extra receiver. Are they going to keep a fullback? They have to with Derek Watt. I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. But if it were me, I would move Jalen Samuel to H-back and have him run on linebackers, because to me, he's not a legit running back. So if you want to get creative, you can do that and have him be a serviceable running back and tight end. So there's a lot of different things that go into that could create depth within the depth, if that makes sense. Not just with the guys that are playing out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really tricky, and it's so easy to judge the state of a team based on preseason, but be totally off base because you just don't know. And so for me, especially looking at the offensive line with so much change. There's been complete overhaul for the most part because they lost Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro and Al Villanueva. I think that maybe because in my mind, those 3 last season were like major dead weights. I'm interpreting their losing them as a gain for the offensive line. And so having guys like, and again, since I didn't watch the game, Western Pennsylvania just having a lot of issues yesterday. I didn't see it, but I heard that Kevin Dotson did well. I heard that Dan Moore Jr. did well. There are young guys on the offensive line. And whenever I went to training camp on Sunday, talking to Chooks in the media scrum, he was saying that he feels like the thing that's different for the line now is that they are younger and there's a little bit more vibrancy and life in the offensive line as a whole, whereas last year the average age was 30 and up. So having younger guys on the line who are more excited about the game, like and seeing guys like Dotson and Moore play well.
Yeah.
Should they be starting? You tell me, because I didn't see it. Like, how did they do? Like, and so my thing is there a chance that this offensive line just needs the first quarter of the season to kind of solidify, lock into place, find their groove, and then allow them to really hit their stride down the stretch? Because I feel like, and this is kind of a sidebar, but the teams that end up winning championships are the ones that typically find their best level of play later in the season. They don't start out hot, they end hot. And
they don't start 11
I
and
feel like
and
that
just
triggering.
Sorry.
But like but seriously, like that could potentially be playing in the Steelers' favor, that they're still trying to piece all these things together and the rest of the league has no idea what's going on. Like, we were super predictable last year. Everybody knew what to expect when they played us, and Ben was able to play around it because we didn't have as many injuries on the defense until later in the season. And then, we were all there. But anyway, going back to the offensive line, guys like Kevin Dotson and Dan Moore, should they be starting on the line?
I mean, I don't know as of yet. I mean, there's some truth to having a younger group play offensive line, because obviously they're younger, they're more useful, they can move, they're excited. But I always found that, you do need to have at least two veterans on your offensive line to kind of hold it up. And whenever you have a rookie center, it's always nice to have a veteran guard next to you to help you out with calls, with mic points, with protections. They're going to be putting a lot on Green if he is going to be the starter. So there is some truth to the youthfulness of the offensive line, but you do need some veterans to step up, and maybe that's Trey Turner, and maybe he's the guy. That's yet to see. But getting to your point, Jordan, is it going to be too late though if they try to find their stride with the 5th game of the season? If they try to start gelling together, in this division? I mean, look who they're playing against. You're playing against a good Browns team that beat you last year. You're going against Lamar Jackson, who can beat you any game, and Joe Burrow's back, and Cincinnati has an explosive offense. So is it going to be too late? They need to find it now, in my opinion, because you can't be waiting around whenever October comes around and it's like, oh, well, we're finally starting to play good, and Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield are out there just letting it rain all over the field and just having a grand old time, throwing touchdowns back and forth, and they're just just having just success all over the field. It may be too late. That might be too much time for this offensive line to figure it out. They need to figure it out now, in my opinion.
True. And I definitely agree with you, but I don't think they necessarily need to go like 0-5 to find their groove. Like, they could go 3-2 and then start to really, like, it's such a difficult league to win in. So that's what makes it really challenging to sort of anticipate.
Hard this
and
year.
Their schedule is so difficult. Like, this
is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. The offensive line will figure it out. It's not going to be the first game of the season. It's probably not going to be the third game of the season, but the defense that we have, it's going to be the same story, different year. Yeah. It's going to be the defense saving the close games, and then the offensive line will have to figure it out in the interim. It's not going to be immediate. It's just not. I mean, we've seen it. I want Kevin Dotson starting, if you ask me. Dan Moore has looked incredible. He has one of the highest rankings of rookies who have played in the preseason so far, according to PFF, who I don't like to quote, but when they're right, they're right.
Actually saying something positive about PFF.
When they post objective stats.
Shock and awe.
I
know,
right? Work for
PFF
because you can just tweet anything and it just I want that job.
Yeah.
I want no accountability, no repercussions to anything that I say.
You're just, winging it.
The upside to the line looking like what it did last night in comparison to last year is at least our offensive play is not as predictable or should not be as predictable as what it was last year.
Right.
So we have that upside to it at least going in comparison to last year.
No, you're right.
So I don't know.
I think go ahead.
It looked rough last night, but I started thinking about it and I was like, okay, in comparison to last year, like the line wasn't great. And literally Twitter was calling the plays before they were happening. And so at least the upside this year is hopefully that's not happening.
Matt Canada, he's a good offensive coordinator. Watching him at Pitt, he had that explosive offense. And, honestly, if it was up to him, I believe that he would want Dwayne Haskins as his starting quarterback right now. Because watching him coach Nate Peterman in college, he was able to move. He moved around a lot and he was more athletic. And that's what the league is now. I mean, there is no stationary. I mean, there's one, Tom Brady and
right.
You have Ben. Like, there's no stationary quarterback. Everybody is somewhat athletic. And especially in this division, like if you want to compete in the North, you have to have an athletic quarterback. Like you're going against 3 Heisman Trophy winners. Like,
and you see when Haskins on the field, that playbook doubles in size. They open that thing up and they're running. I mean, like there's so much motion, there's so much creativity. Like they ran plays that I got excited to see. It wasn't just the stereotypical everything we saw last year out of Randy Feitner. So, I mean, that's another reason I think why fans really, really want to see Haskins and they get really excited about Haskins because he's running this Matt Canada offense really well. And it's exciting to watch. It's different than, everything that we saw last year, which was the most predictable, boring shit ever.
I look back at like the last few games and I'm like, I don't even know how we went 11-0. I'm like, and the most
shocking
luck.
But to even make it to 11-0 at that rate is just incredible. Like, and most people are like, oh my gosh, you started 11-0. Like, that's great. And I'm like, this is the most disappointing season of my life. Like,
I mean, while it was so annoying, it was so annoying to see everyone be like, oh, they're this Mickey Mouse 11-0.
Yeah.
Worst
so
undefeated team of all time. But they ended up being right. So
but like
they were right. And then you had to eat crow and be like, yeah, you were right. And we're not going to the Super Bowl like we all said. So.
Okay, shut up. We get it. Fine. Like, yeah, we suck. Congratulations, you win.
Love Twitter.
It's fine. We're fine. We're all fine.
for that fire gif at all times in Pittsburgh, I swear.
Oh, I know.
Twitter.
Oh. People get so
triggered. We're fine.
Oh my gosh. Like some days I wake up and I'm like, do I want to choose violence today? Because it's so easy.
I've learned that just read the comments. Like don't even say anything. I used to get into it a while ago with people and it's just not even worth it. I mean, it really isn't. And it's just, it can just cause so much chaos and just ruin your day. And you're like
so much chaos
trying to find these people, like trying to find out where they work and like call their boss, like saying how ridiculous they are. Like it's just
and all then at some point someone is tagging you in a thread with Mark Madden and then it's over. I mean, it is, your day is ruined.
Yep. And then it's all voodoo dolls from there.
And then you get voodooed.
This is, I wish I was making that up. I still cannot believe we got voodooed.
I know,
wait, what is this? What is this?
You don't know?
It was a whole thing, Dorin.
Morgan and I got voodooed on Twitter.
What's that?
We pissed off a witch.
We pissed off a witch.
Oh, like a for real voodoo? Like
a voodoo.
They cast a spell on you?
She had a voodoo. She posted a picture of a voodoo doll. And
little
then the next day,
voodoos.
Sam and I both got sick.
See, you guys were coming at me at the beginning of the show saying Friday the 13th, like how I'm just being ridiculous about this holiday, and you guys have people casting spells on you.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I did not take it seriously. I was so full of it. And then like literally within an hour of that girl posting it, I had like a fever and I was like, this is kind of weird. And then I was texting Morgan and I was like, how do you feel? And then like 6 hours later, Morgan had a fever. And so then we were like, oh, this, I don't know. This is weird.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Twitter is the wild, wild west. It is.
It's something else.
Do not talk back to witches.
No,
Oh
even the good, nice ones. Cause I'm sure she's a great person, but like, guys,
she's not a
no
nice
more.
person.
I'm not getting in Twitter arguments with anyone anymore. I'm not taking the bait. I hate to disappoint all of you because I know some of you really like it, but I'm done.
Voodoo, that's pretty serious.
I'm bowing out.
It was
no joke.
Yeah, so we don't recommend that. I will be reading people's bios from now on. If you are a witch, I will just be blocking and moving on with my day.
Ooh, that's rough.
Speaking of Twitter, Dorin, today on the fan, Pony was, talking to Leon Searcy, and I think he specifically said, do you think a bad line can be overcome by a good running back? And obviously he said no, like you need a good line to create holes, which is, I believe that's like the common belief / knowledge among most people who watch the game of football or consider themselves fans. But Pony said all the fans think that Najee is going to be, the second coming of Christ and save, the Steelers from whatever doom they were headed for. So like, this is my issue with Pittsburgh media, because I'm just going to say it to you so you can relay this to Pony. It's so annoying that like a couple people can say something uneducated, like, yeah, Najee is going to fix all of our offensive line problems, whatever. And then Pony's like, yeah, the fans are all idiots. The fans said this, the fans said that. This is why people don't like that from you, Pony. I said it.
Well, he definitely, I know him very, very well. He definitely knows how to stir the pot. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's doing it on purpose. So
yes. Why is every Pittsburgh media person playing this like heel personality?
Oh, that somehow makes it worse.
It's just, you have to, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because Pony's a very, very intelligent person, and he does know, and he does study. I mean, I was at his house one time. We were watching Pitt basketball versus Syracuse. He went to Syracuse, and he had a stat sheet. We're sitting in his house drinking beers, like buddies do, and he has a stat sheet, and he's marking down every single player on Syracuse's rebounds, points, assists, every single possession. Like, I mean, so whenever he goes on and he does these things, I mean, he's very, very educated, and he's very in tune of what sparks conversation.
What reaction
I don't
it's
doubt
going to have.
His intelligence. For sure. I mean, like that's like a standard MO among a lot of people today. Especially, I mean, it runs rampant in Pittsburgh sports media. It just does. I mean, like we see it all the time with a bunch of people, like say something negative, get clicks, get attention, whatever. It just drives me insane. I don't understand. Wouldn't you rather be likable and have people like trust what you're saying and not, just be pissed about your opinions?
I know for me, like I specifically can remember, I don't remember what tweet it was, but I have quote tweeted Pony just asking him to please shut the up because what he was tweeting was so ridiculous. And I was just like, please just stop tweeting.
I seriously don't doubt his intelligence. Like you can tell when he speaks that he's a super intelligent guy and that he gets the game of football. He gets sports in general. You understand that when he speaks. It's just, I want to I just want to grab him by the shoulders and shake him.
See, he's winning right now.
This is what he wants.
This is what he wants. Look, he's doing a good job. He's sitting at home and hanging out, and we're talking about him.
I know.
He did teach me one thing. Being in this industry, he taught me that there's always another side of things, and there's always a different opinion. It doesn't have to be a negative opinion. It doesn't have to be a positive, but there's always a different angle to things. And that really had helped me in this industry, and being, when I first started, is that kind of expand your mind. Like, don't just be set on one point. Like, get a bunch of points and then pick from each one. And, he did teach me that early on in this industry. And, he does that very well. Like, there's probably 10 different angles he has in his head. And he's like, all right, well, this is going to be fire right now. So I'm going to just pick this one. Even if I don't believe it, I'm going to pick this one. So, and that enhances, sometimes good talk show radio.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, like, if everyone's agreeing, if you're taking the popular stance and you're agreeing on everything, and there's no contrarian aspect to the conversation, I mean, that's a boring conversation, right? Like, you don't have any back and forth. There's no debate. I get it, especially for radio. I get it. It's just frustrating for when he says some things that imply stupidity among a group of people, like the fans. Like, I know people get offended by that, because the majority of what I saw was we need to take care of the offensive line first before we think a running back is going to be our saving grace. And so this is just my shout out to the fans. I know you're not idiots. Pony probably knows that too. According to Dorin, he's just doing this on purpose. So there you go.
He's winning.
He's not winning. I'm winning.
Why does it have to be a competition, Pony? Why can't we all win? God, that's what drives me nuts. It's like, oh geez.
And it's funny, he's not even saying anything, and he's we're just talking about him.
I don't
sit in a room with him for 2 hours.
I refuse to talk about him. I don't.
I thought you were gonna prank him today.
Or so stupid.
I've pranked him so many times. You know what I did is that psychologically I pranked him, because I had him on his toes, and I had him looking over his shoulder all day, thinking I was going to prank him.
Nervous all
so
day.
that was the prank, is that he was always looking, seeing if I was going to prank him. So I had him on his toes.
Sometimes that's good enough.
Exactly. So I got him for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah, because he's definitely a master troll. And honestly, I feel like we mentioned PFF already, but I feel like they're kind of similar. Like, they're just a group of people that know how to get people talking about them. And for the most part, what they share is garbage. But they did release their best rookie rankings for the preseason so far. And go figure, Dan Moore Jr. is on there, and so is Isaiah Loudermilk. Like, so,
and Buddy Johnson.
Yes, thank you. So, like, 3 Steelers on this rookie list for the highest graded of the preseason. And if that's right, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it isn't, but it's shocking whenever we see the Steelers positively linked to PFF, because it feels like that never.
Well, it like invites skepticism, right? Like, so first of all, are we including the Hall of Fame game? Because if we're not, then that's one entire team that's left out of these rankings entirely. The Cowboys are not even included in this. So are we really comparing the Steelers, the Eagles, the Patriots, and the or the Washington football team? Like, and if that's the case, then are they just blowing smoke up our asses? Because, like, that's 14. I mean, yes, we have 3. Great. We have 3 players on this list based on the preseason so far. And that's what, 4 teams if the Cowboys are not included in that. So, I mean, that's great. It's like 66%. I don't know.
I tell you what, I've never clicked. I've never looked. I've never even thought about PFF. I've never clicked on
they're awful.
Twitter. I've never looked at their website.
Bad.
As a player, if I would ever gotten graded by them, I'd just be like, whatever. Like they
Yeah.
have no idea really what a grade is. Like my coaches grade me.
Exactly.
Like, not you, like from just watching me from your TV. Like, no, like you're not
it's
gonna
like
grade me.
infuriating. It's
Yeah, like-
infuriating because half the stuff they post, I mean, it's like we just said, it's like bait. Like they post it because they know it's going to piss people off. But that's why this was so like shocking almost. But that's why I said it invites skepticism, because it's like,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing? Like, what are you up to? I don't trust it.
Ever.
They're going to be like, JK. End of the preseason, they're all at the bottom.
But ultimately, does it matter? Because if they graded all of these guys as like F-, and then they came out in the regular season and balled out, like their grades wouldn't matter. And flip it, like these grades are great, but if Dan Moore and Buddy Johnson and Isaiah Loudermilk come out and they just totally flop in the regular season, it's like, okay, so wonderful. You graded them highly in the preseason and now they suck. So like, it's one of those things where, again, this form of media's way of keeping people engaged and talking. And if that's your goal, then they're doing a really good job, because look at us, we're talking about them. But at the same time, like, I can't think of something that's more pointless than preseason grades on rookies. Like, okay, awesome. 82.1, what? Exactly.
Nobody gets excited over preseason grades. Like,
even though those were anything.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we do see people be like over dramatic and season's over and like, oh my God, this is the end and this is what's going to happen for the rest of the season. And I'm just like, I just expect that at this point. So
it is just,
that's the only extreme that it's permissible in the preseason. It's only negative emotions. Positive emotions are pointless, but you can fire everybody, cut everybody, get rid of everyone because everybody sucks because it's preseason and they didn't look good. But if somebody looks good, then it's just preseason, whatever.
When you start a job and you have like a 90-day probationary period, like, are you making this team or are you not? Are you impressing your boss enough that you're staying?
Oh, doesn't really matter because you're still training. Yeah. Right. So you could.
That's why you don't get paid in preseason. You get paid like $1,000 a week in preseason.
Oof, wow.
And then the real money comes the first week of the year, the first week of the season.
$1,000 a week to get beat up every week. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Right. And to probably not make the team. So
odds are you're not making it.
Actually, odds are that's probably more money than a lot of players had coming out of college. If you're from a small college and you're making $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, not bad.
Especially prior to this year, now that NIL's a thing.
Right.
Shoot.
All right,
maybe I should hop on that preseason.
I have to ask you something, Dorin. It's a debate that we have going, and we ask some of our guests, and Morgan already knows what I'm going to ask. And I added it to our outline at the very last second, but no one's updated it. But does pineapple go on pizza?
Absolutely not.
What?
Absolutely not.
You're our first guest that said no.
It's a fruit.
Well, now I'm really offended.
Okay, so but wait.
Isn't tomato a fruit?
Yeah,
yes, tomato's a fruit, and he's never had it. It's very obvious based on this conversation that you've never had it.
How's it obvious?
I can tell.
Have you had pineapple on a pizza?
Yes, I've had a bite of pineapple on a pizza, and it was horrible.
No, he hasn't.
Yes,
You're lying.
Was this a decade ago? Was this?
It's not. Is it going to change?
I'm just wondering.
It was like 8 years ago.
Because they say your taste buds change like every several years.
That's true. That is true. I used to hate.
Wait, you just didn't have a refined palate back then.
Jordan, you like pineapple on pizza too?
I have never had it, so I can't speak to it.
Oh,
I've always stayed away from it because I thought it was gross. But I've never had it, so I
I'd
can't.
I'd rather have sardines on my pizza than.
Oh,
pasta.
no,
Shut
you
Oh,
would
no.
not.
Yes.
Nope.
This
That's where I
is
draw the
so.
line.
This is
Sardines
so
are
on
disgusting.
brand. So on brand for you.
I would eat.
This is-
I would eat a pile of sardines before I had pineapple and pizza.
No way.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Ooh.
I just got I literally just got the chills.
I like pineapple by
sounds
itself. I
terrible.
love pineapple. I could eat like a whole pineapple by itself. Love it. But on pizza, like how does that
Like,
even?
Pineapple
It's
and
so good. It's like
jalapeno pizza.
savory,
Fire.
savory.
I feel like I need to
sweet.
try that this weekend just so I can
Yes.
settle
Don't
waste
into
your
it
money.
within my
Opinion.
spirit.
Don't waste your money.
I'll make it myself at home.
Don't waste your time.
What a
Oh,
joke.
All
man.
right.
I can't believe that.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Dorin, for joining us. Like, we really enjoyed spending this night with you. And thank you, as always, to Steeler Nation.
Thank you guys for having me. This was awesome. Let's do it again sometime.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
anytime. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Guys,
Appreciate
be
it.
sure to follow us on Twitter at Yinzhers and on Instagram at Yinzhers Official.
And make sure that you're subscribed to us wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will see you next week for another episode of Yinzhers.
Bye, guys.